Good morning. Thank you all for joining me here today. We're here to talk about successful strategies for end-to-end segmentation. My name is Andy Hicks. I will get to my bio here in a second, but what we hope to cover here over the next 30 minutes appears on your screen here. I'll give you a quick background where I'm concerned, give you a little bit of an idea who Guardicore is. I'm not going to assume that everyone knows who we are as an organization. We'll talk a bit about what is end-to-end segmentation, how it applies to digital transformation, which is a common topic and initiative in many organizations today. Investigate a little bit about who is implementing end-to-end segmentation and those kinds of projects and initiatives. Kind of pick a starting point for that kind of a project. Talk about the obstacles that people can encounter from time to time with segmentation projects. Give you some clues maybe to what to look for when it comes to solution, the right solution. A couple of different ways to try to implement and then operate software-defined segmentation solutions, and then really leave you with some artifacts related to some additional sources. But to start you off, here I am. That's a guy who's seen some better days, apparently. But I've been in the industry for some time. I am the regional director for Guardicore. I cover the Ohio Valley and the Mid-Atlantic region. I had the distinct privilege and honor of working at Ideal Integrations for about 2.5 years. I played a role, hopefully one that was high valued in helping build out the Blue Bastion security practice. A lion's share that credit goes to Michael Stratos and Corey Bizard, but I'd like to think I played a small part in getting that off the ground and started up. So my experience with a lot of technology really is from the perspective of a user, and some of what you hear from me today, it will be through that lens of somebody who has used the product and been very, very close to it, as opposed to just somebody selling or marketing it. But back to the story of who we are. I could sit here and use some words over the next 2 minutes to describe that, or I could ask our engineers here to launch a video to tell a really great story about Guardicore and what we do.
At Guardicore, we provide the fastest and most cost-effective way to protect your organization's critical assets through software-based segmentation. Just as a ship's hull uses segmentation to protect from leaks, software-based segmentation deters and prevents attackers from reaching your most sensitive information. But legacy segmentation tools like firewall appliances and VLANs and network security groups are slow to change and heavily dependent on network infrastructure, crippling IT agility and often resulting in business disruption. That's where Guardicore Centra comes in. Rather than relying on the underlying network or cloud infrastructure for segmentation, it creates a software-based segmentation overlay that works across data centers and cloud environments. It's simple to implement and manage and offers unprecedented visibility and control. IT teams get a visual map of their entire environment with easy-to-understand application dependencies and traffic flows in both real-time and historical views. With just a few clicks, Guardicore Centra can create powerful policies, including granular and context-aware rules based on processes, user identities, or fully qualified domain names. With advanced breach detection and response capabilities, Guardicore Centra identifies threats quickly and provides actionable guidance to contain the threat. Guardicore Centra is the only integrated security platform that provides a single, consistent dashboard to create, update, and enforce segmentation policies for applications running on bare metal systems, virtual servers, cloud, and containers. Don't rely on legacy firewalls, VLANs, and network security groups to protect your enterprise. Learn how Guardicore can save you significant time, money, and reduce your attack surface with software-based solutions at www.guardicore.com.
Oh, welcome back. So I hope that gave all of you that are watching a bit of an idea of what we're all about and the problems that we're trying to solve or the gaps we're trying to fill for our customers. Back to the educational side of this with a little mixture of maybe some Guardicore specific things. Really the next 3 slides I'm gonna walk through here are what I call our 4 pillars or tenets as it pertains to our philosophy and our approach to preventing cyber incidents and or providing early detection and containment for cyber incidents, and it's really baked into our methodology, our thought process, and really the capabilities of our technology. So any of you guys out there who've tried segmentation projects historically know they're very challenging, just in general. Using traditional firewalls or ACLs or VLANs to try to accomplish that goal. Again, through the lens of somebody who was very close to building a security operations center from the ground up, when we started mapping out the tool sets and what we wanted to accomplish, one of the things that was always a challenge, a hurdle that we were trying to overcome was what do we do about securing our customers, our own first, but then our customers, cloud and data center workloads, and trying to segment anything without actually being able to visualize or a good source of truth is really a near impossibility. So what we found when we found Guardicore was we found an organization that built a product that had some really end up being must-haves for us. And it started with kind of core tenet number 1, which is if you can't visualize what you're trying to secure and map dependencies between your systems, it is going to be a tough road, a very tough road. From a software-defined segmentation approach, having something that is going to allow you to visualize everything you're running across all of your environments, regardless of the underlying operating system or actually where it's running, is absolutely key. Being able to visualize what is going on between your systems, not just at a layer 4 level, but all the way to the process level is absolutely a must-have as well today. Most attacks, most really damaging attacks, high-profile attacks, are those that are occurring at layer 7 or at the application level. So being able to visualize at that level and then map dependencies is absolutely crucial. Being able to take this newfound visibility and then organize it is kind of that next iterative step in the visualizing and mapping side of things. Organizing based on how systems communicate, like systems, is pretty crucial, and being able to do that easily and simply is an important part of really our core, our primary tenet here in visualization and mapping. You want to take that mapping and that visualization and use it wisely. And what we started doing was we took that and we started thinking about how we could start attacking the attack surface, how we started to reduce it or compress it. And Guardicore, as a distributed firewall system, allowed us to do that very quickly and easily for our customers. Some really must-haves that we had kind of listed out as far as criteria was it needed to be a single policy set. We needed to do it in as least disruptive manner as possible. So really ideally no changes to our network was going to be crucial, or to our customers, ultimately our customers' network. It was knowing that kind of software-defined segmentation was a relatively new idea in the marketplace. We certainly did not want to, we wanted to make sure we tackled initiatives that we knew would be quick wins for not only us, but mostly for our customers. Tackling the things that would have the biggest impact on our business and our customers' business was chief amongst them. Too many networks were flat, too easy to breach the perimeter and kind of move around as we saw fit, or through an adversary's eyes, wherever we wanted to go. So being able to carve that up or compress it was critical. We could not imagine impacting applications, their availability, so that was not something that we could afford to do. And we wanted to make sure that whatever we selected was something that would bake into people's development, DevOps processes, and their automation frameworks. So tenet 1, visualize and map dependencies. 2, shrink the attack surface, secure your assets at the workload level. And then 3 and 4 really tied together. Now that we have a compressed attack surface, or microsegments start to detect for unauthorized lateral movement on those microsegments, as opposed to a big flat network. The fourth really tenet or pillar is around containment. The reality of the world we live in today is stopping everything is probably not a realistic scenario. So it's important to have a safety net or a containment mechanism. The role of Guardicore or any sort of software-defined segmentation solution is kind of a last defense when it comes to containing any sort of malware or ransomware that may break out across your network. So, what is end-to-end segmentation? This is really a newer way of describing software-defined segmentation or microsegmentation. We're great in the industry from a marketing perspective and constantly changing key terms. But end-to-end segmentation it's an emerging security best practice. It's been around for really in earnest for the better part of the last 5, 6, 7 years. It provides an organization with the ability to protect and secure their assets at a granular workload level, as opposed to leveraging a piece of infrastructure that you're routing traffic through. It provides unparalleled visibility and control, and establishes your ability to map out communication flows within your environment and between systems. End-to-end segmentation really allows, if we want to dig a little bit deeper into this, allows organizations to reduce the attack surface on a per workload basis. I talked about that a couple of slides ago, that reduction in the attack surface is absolutely key to playing good defense. It's so difficult otherwise. It really ends up being a relatively futile effort. So many tools doing so many different things, reducing the attack surface actually makes all of that tooling better and more effective. End-to-end segmentation allows you to control east and west traffic and to restrict lateral movement. Lateral movement is, or I call it unauthorized lateral movement. Lateral movement always occurs when systems are talking to each other, but unauthorized lateral movement is a very strong indicator of compromise. So the goal with end-to-end segmentation is to restrict that unauthorized lateral movement. One of the key things to an end-to-end software-defined segmentation solution is that security control that you're going to be implementing through this technology, whatever you select, follows that workload throughout its life cycle. More often than not, it's not going to be built and live in the same spot for its entire life cycle. Commonly, workloads are being deprecated and reinstantiated other places, and building policy, security policy once, and having that policy follow that workload regardless of where it is and where it lives is absolutely critical to success with segmentation initiatives. We'll dive deeper into digital transformation here in a second, but the idea around software-defined segmentation, it does embrace the idea of digital transformation. And those that are really looking at adhering to a zero trust architecture, we'll talk about that in earnest here in a bit. End-to-end segmentation is just a part of an overall methodology that people are starting to really embrace around zero trust, as opposed to trusting but verifying. Can't do that anymore. The idea of not trusting anything out of the gate, but then verifying is really the approach there. And then those of you that are operating in industries that are heavily regulated, software-defined segmentation makes your life easier from a compliance perspective. End-to-end segmentation can reduce your time under compliance. We've seen as high as 75%. So let's dive into digital transformation. It's a catchphrase, no doubt about it. We hear it all the time in meetings with customers. It's an easy catch-all for really what I see as people migrating from a historical scenario of running applications and workloads on their infrastructure to getting out of the data center business altogether and moving applications to the cloud or building them natively in the cloud. The focus of digital transformation is not just getting out of the data center business. It's also to improve agility, efficiency, speeding up time to market for applications, for products, for services that organizations are building, and working to develop continuous and comprehensive security policies as part of that process, as opposed to it being the tail of the dog that comes later on. So where end-to-end segmentation supports digital transformation, increasing cloud adoption. So many organizations that we sit down and speak with are reluctant to move to the cloud. A lot of it is to do with the fact that it increases complexity. It really doesn't allow them to, in ways, the phrase I've heard is take advantage of their technical debt or their technology debt. But a lot of it is centered around, it's just really an unknown area. Even though public clouds have been around for some time now, most organizations still feel largely comfortable with their assets under their control and in their own environment. But the reality is they know the business has to move forward, and this digital transformation is pushing a lot of what they need to support and build out on the infrastructure that they don't control. So security is building that in on the front end of that transformation is absolutely critical. Applications that are distributed across hybrid cloud environments is another key area where end-to-end segmentation plays a strong role in really establishing security best practices. We encounter routinely organizations who have multi-tier applications, a web tier, an app tier, and a database tier, all communicating with each other, but all living in different places. Database tier sitting on a company's infrastructure in their data centers, with a web tier that sits out in a public cloud talking to an app tier that's maybe sitting in a colo facility. So being able to secure all of those workloads the exact same way, regardless of where they're running, is an absolute must-have and a goal in an end-to-end segmentation digital transformation initiative. Traditional servers are going to be around for a long time. Virtual machines, infrastructure as a service is not going to go away overnight. But what we're seeing more and more is the use of container technologies or platform as a service and serverless technologies. So the end-to-end segmentation solution has to be able to account for those and cover those as well. This is really, we're seeing this a lot in retail, online retail, fintech, and online banking. Organizations who are building applications that need to spin up and spin down workloads as they're needed, being able to secure that the same way you would a persistent server that's up all the time. So your end-to-end segmentation solution needs to account for that as well. And lastly, any of you that are really heavily involved in development operations, or you have a large development team, it's a core part of your business, being able to integrate security into your development, your DevOps processes, and into your CI/CD pipeline makes things way easier than trying to secure them after the fact. So that's something also to look out for in a digital transformation initiative, making sure that you have that box checked. So, who's implementing end-to-end segmentation? And the shorter answer is everybody. We're seeing it grow dramatically, the industry or this segment of the industry. Largely being led by financial services and banking and other heavily regulated industries, healthcare, manufacturing, energy, retail, PCI compliance, SWIFT compliance. Anybody who's heavily regulated tends to adopt or look at these kinds of technologies earlier on in their life cycle than other industries. But we're seeing everybody take a look at it because of its impact on attack surface reduction, and candidly also because their historical way of securing their environment by building big crunchy exteriors, using firewalls and other older kind of monolithic infrastructure just doesn't work anymore in this new digitally transformed age. And organizations that are having to manage hybrid environments and have large DevOps organizations are also those that are tackling end-to-end segmentation initiatives right now. So, when you're preparing for an end-to-end segmentation project, some things to think about and to consider. Define your stakeholders early. Get everybody involved. If you have a larger, more comprehensive IT organization, make sure all of the people that are going to be impacted by this are in the room or in the know or in the conversation. They have a voice. Cybersecurity, network, systems, people that are owning and running your servers and your virtualization environment, risk and compliance, and your DevOps folks. All of them will be impacted potentially. Define your goals early, and I can tell you from experience, the analogy I use is look at a segmentation project like you're wading into a cold pool, as opposed to a kind of cannonballing into the deep end. Look at areas where you can get quick wins, where you can take the biggest bites out of the attack surface that you are so desperately trying to shrink. Look at things like environmental segmentation. Look at things like application isolation or ring fencing. Those are easy to reach segmentation goals and initiatives. Try those first and then wade into that more granular application microsegmentation, and then focusing on your user population and isolating them, which we're seeing a big uptick in interest there. Get your architects involved. They're key stakeholders as well, because there's nobody on your team that's going to understand not only your present but your future infrastructure plans. A tagging strategy. I brought up labeling early on. Being able to label your assets so you can group them with other like systems performing similar services or integrated as part of a multi-tier application. Make sure that your tagging strategy aligns with your business needs. Make sure you have the flexibility on the tagging side. Don't be shoehorned into just 3 or 4 or maybe 5 tags, which some solutions unfortunately make you shoehorn your business into their approach to segmentation. Make sure you have that flexibility to tag your environment any way you want, and make sure you have the tools in place to automate a vast majority of that. And then the last, but certainly in my opinion, one that needs a great deal of consideration is, where are you going to integrate? How are you going to integrate? Do you have existing firewall policies that you want to leverage? Do you have a SIM? Do you have a SOAR? What is your ticketing system that you use internally? Do you have ServiceNow or some other CMDB type inventory solution? Think about where you're going to tag or how you're going to tag. If you have workloads in a public cloud, can I pull tagging from there? How about integration with vCenter or whatever your hypervisor is? Can I use the existing tagging I've already done from those efforts, those past efforts? All very key things to think about in preparation for an end-to-end segmentation solution. So from a beginning, where do we begin? You did your planning. Now you got to start someplace. Typically, it starts with those that are under audit or find themselves under audit. That they have failed audit findings, or what we're seeing commonly in several service-based industries, whether they're law firms or third-party logistics organizations. They have customers who are driving them into this world of end-to-end segmentation because they're concerned, right? And they want them to mimic their security practices that they have within their organization. So, addressing failed audit findings is really a common place to start. Application isolation and then ultimately microsegmenting critical applications based on however you have them tiered. Commonly we see tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and maybe even tier 4 applications. They get categorized and then addressed and prioritized that way. Segmenting part of your environment, as I had mentioned before, that are the least secure, is a common place, an early place to start. So if you have older applications that have, legacy that actually leverage older operating systems or have to leverage older operating systems, those assets are critical. Having a solution that will support and protect those older operating systems that are no longer supported by the manufacturer is a common place to start. Work with the other stakeholders to prioritize, right? Make sure that they have a voice and that what you prioritize will have the biggest impact on the business. And as we had stated before, applying different segmentation techniques based on those tiers of applications is critical. So we talked about the stakeholders and planning. We talked about where to start. Now I wouldn't be doing a good job if I didn't talk about where there are some obstacles that we encounter routinely with these kind of initiatives. Most people always point to their hybrid environments being very difficult to secure because they have too many tools. They have all the tools they've used historically for their on-prem workloads, but now you have all these new cloud-native tools that exist in whatever public cloud they're going to select or they're operating in. The reality is you need a tool that actually spans all of that. So the right software-defined end-to-end segmentation platform will allow you to build policy once and allow you to extend it wherever you're running workloads in the exact same way and managed from one location. Lack of visibility is a common thing. I mean, that's probably number one. Most organizations don't have the visibility to make proper segmentation decisions, so they're terrified of breaking their applications or negatively impacting performance. So commonly heard challenge that is addressed. Policy complexity. Most organizations feel that they have overly complex policy that will be difficult to merge into or adapt to this kind of tool. And the truth is it is commonly heard, but rarely something that can't be overcome. DevOps and auto scaling, development operations and their folks are looking at, as I described earlier, applications that have workloads that spin up and spin down based on demand. Being able to secure those kinds of assets in that manner is table stakes for those folks. So you got to be able to cover those kinds of workloads again with your end-to-end segmentation. And then unproven methodology. They're concerned. They see at times they run across organizations who really work through this and have a solution that they are positioned to sell or market, but they don't have a methodology of delivering positive outcomes. So make sure that you really vet whoever you're working with to make sure that they have great references, that they can prove out their technology, not in a vacuum, but in a production proof of concept or proof of value. Things to look for in the right solution. Make sure that whatever you select is platform and infrastructure agnostic. You got to abstract the underlying constraint of the infrastructure from the ability to build policy. at a software-defined level. You want to provide visibility and application dependency mapping. Without it, you're going to have a real tough road to hoe with a segmentation initiative. Flexible deployment options is key, whether you want to deploy applications in packages or push them out with the common tools like SCCM and Ansible, Chef, Puppet. You need to have flexible deployment options. Understanding how enforcement is performed and whether it's going to be on the client side or the server side. That is, something that needs to be taken in consideration, and make sure it's future-proofed, right? That whatever you build today is going to work for you tomorrow, however you have your infrastructure deployed and however your applications are built out. Make sure it's future-proofed. So I'll leave you guys with this. There's a couple of different ways to operate. I'll let you guys, there's advantage and disadvantage to each. Decentralized, think of that more of DevOps and application owners driving the approach, the decentralized approach to segmentation. You're going to see upticks in speed and efficiency, and policies grounded in deep application knowledge, but it's also going to be kind of after the fact. So the security can be diluted. Where centralized, that affects efficiency and time to market. So two different ways to do it. It depends on the organization, depends on the business. Both ways can work. We've seen both ways work, absolutely. And then some additional resources for you guys. These are artifacts that you guys can leverage whenever you choose to do so. But I want to thank you for your time. I went over my time just a little bit, so I thank you for those couple extra minutes. Anything you need, the team at Ideal and at Blue Bastion, where Guardicore especially is concerned, you're not going to find a finder group with higher acumen around technology like ours, or helping you take you on a journey to end-to-end segmentation really in the market. So thanks again. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy.